from the trailer. When we saw the trailer, I mean, if you remember, I did a reaction of the trailer, and I was thinking, who's Cole? So I finally managed to see the new Mortal Kombat movie, and I have to say, I think it's a fun movie for casual moviegoers and also casual Mortal Kombat fans or gamers, but it can be a little baffling for hardcore gamers and lore purists and also movie critics. Starting with the good things that I like about this movie, I think the action is decent overall. I mean, the choreography and the editing is something that you're going to see in any fighting movie nowadays, but I think they do a little bit of effort into implementing, like the powers, the moves from the games. Another good point are the creative solutions that this movie used in order to explain some stuff that maybe we ignore or maybe we don't think too much into it. For example, why these humans have powers. So they explain, like this rank mark and this pass from warrior to warrior, but I mean, it's an effort in order for you to make it a little more believable, but also to give a reason. Like, if Sonya has, like the ring power, how did she gain that, and why not, like the average Joe can do that? Another creative solution that I liked is the Scorpion Spear origin. I think that adds more backstory to, like a weapon. You assume, the Scorpion has a spear and that's it, but here they make an attempt to explain that. Also, I think the casting used in this movie is pretty much on point. I saw the actors and I saw the characters. I don't think there was any miscast, but my favorite casting choice, it has to be Scorpion and Raiden. Like, those two characters, I mean, were straight out of the game. The other good point I want to say is that the fan service here was ridiculous. I mean, there was a lot of moments that should be like cringy, should be cheesy, like a character saying fatality, flawless victory. But I think they do a pretty good movie. Like, the movie doesn't take itself very seriously when it comes to these moments, and I think that's refreshing. I don't think something has to be like uber realistic for you to enjoy it. Continuing on the fan service, I think people that are very into the lore of Mortal Kombat are going to spot some of the Easter eggs, some nods to the future and to the past of the Mortal Kombat storyline. For example, one of the things that I was really surprised is that we get a glimpse on a mural or a window, like a window painting or something of Taven and Dagon sleeping. If you don't know Mortal Kombat, that's a pretty huge plot point in the whole grand scheme of things. Essentially, it's one of the first events that happen in the storyline. In the Shaolin base, I mean, that looks like the crypt from Mortal Kombat. You have Kitana's Fang, you have a Quan Chi amulet, a Kotal Kahn face sculpture. They were mentioning things from all of the game. I appreciate that, I really appreciate that, even if it's cheap fan service a little bit of the times, but I think that was pretty enjoyable. I just want to make a question to you. Did you notice that Bihan's costume was very dark, like almost black in some of the scenes? I think that this choice of making him all black is a nod that he's going to be reborn as Noob Saibot in the future. And finally, my final good point about this movie is just one word: Kano, the greatest character in this movie. Now that doesn't mean that there wasn't bad things in this movie, because oh my god, I have some treats here. And for my first bad thing, it's also one word: Cole. Who the hell is Cole? And why is Cole? I know why they did this. Maybe they needed, like a character for the audience to put on their shoes and, to see this new Mortal Kombat war. You need someone that is getting into this war in order for you to introduce the lore, introduce the characters. The problem is, they did a new character that, okay, it looks like he could be on a Mortal Kombat game. It's going to be like freaking, what was his name, Cobra. But people, you have like plus 80 characters for you to choose from all the Mortal Kombat games, and you know that the only choice, the most rational choice to use Johnny Cage as this person, what is Cage not as relatable because he's famous, Okay, then let's make him not as famous. Maybe he could be like a commercial actor, someone that is down on his luck and then he stumbled onto the tournament. And Johnny Cage is not the only one that you could have used. I mean, you can use someone down to earth, maybe Striker. I mean, he's a policeman. I mean, this is not the fan favorite, but it could be better than Cole. You can have pretty disfigurement Cabal. You can use Mocap. I'm not kidding, I mean, at least he's into the lore. Even Art. You do not remember Art? You don't remember Art from the first movie? Yeah, that Art. You see, there's a problem with Cole is that his story, the family, the plot armor jokes that he had, and his fight with Goro, all of that are pretty... it's time wasty. I mean, you don't care about the family, you don't care about Cole, and he's there just because his connection with Scorpion. In fact, there was a moment in the movie that I thought that he was going to be the new Scorpion, and my god, I would have blown a gasket because that would have been pretty bad. But still, his fight with Goro was pretty much great effects, great action. I liked how they fight, but he killed Goro. He's Cole. Why is Cole killing Goro? Goro should be killed by Kung Lao or Liu Kang, but Cole. Oh my god. So moving away from Cole, the second bad point I have to say is that there were too much characters. I appreciate that they use as many references as possible, but they have to be organically introduced. Teasing stuff like with the Easter eggs, with the lore thing, the script, and mentioning characters' names, for example, that's great. That's world building. I think the worst offender in this movie was Nitara. I mean, when I saw Nitara there, I didn't even know that it was Nitara because she doesn't look like Nitara. Beside the fact that she has dragon wings, she appears. Shansung is like, oh, this is Nitara, she's beautiful, and then she fight with Kung Lao, and it is a flawless victory because Nitara doesn't do anything. He's just swinging from one part of the map to the other, and then Kung Lao just makes do a fatality. I mean, what was the point of introducing Nitara like that? If you're going to do Nitara dirty, then just use like a normal dragon lady, not her. And the final bad point, the pacing and the exposition bunch, they are too much out of control. Some of the backstories is like, okay, I don't want to know this. And speaking of the pacing, I think the introduction of Outward was really forced. You can take those scenes that are set in Outward, throw them in the trash, and the movie won't flinch. They could have added a little more of mystery by not showing Outward. I mean, it's clear that they are going to make, or they're pretending to do a sequel because they baited us at the end with Johnny Cage. Maybe you could also leave Outward for a sequel. Now some quick details, some quick thoughts that I wrote down when I was watching the movie. The first one is a bad one. It's supposed to be the Mortal Kombat tournament, but there's not a tournament here, so what happened with that? And my final detail, I appreciate that at the end, in the Sub-Zero versus Scorpion fight, they did a little bit of a remix of the original movie theme song. You know the one, the Mortal Kombat one. It was very short, but they did it. They used that beat, remixed it with the soundtrack. That was very good. Although I was asking, even until now, why the hell they just use the original theme? Everybody wants that. So that was my review for Mortal Kombat 2021. I think is, as I said, it's a fun movie. I mean, I watched it and I did have a great time. Putting the cold scenes at the side, but yeah, it was a pretty nice movie. Do I recommend it? Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind, if you are not too much interested into the lore of Mortal Kombat, then you are going to enjoy it, I'm sure of it. So if you're having a boring afternoon, you can spice it up with a little bit of Mortal Kombat.